Okay, so picture this. 4 years. Total shatter.
Yeah, a career that didn't just stall, it just vanished.
Completely. For a guy who was an Oscar nominee, the silence was just deafening.
But now, after what was basically, a professional execution, you hear that little tap, tap, tap of a microphone turning back on.
And it's not just a faint sound, it's a huge headline reverberating across Hollywood. James Franco finally breaks his silence on his comeback.
But if you're expecting some grand return to, like, the center of the Hollywood machine, you might want to think again.
This is a comeback story that's being engineered completely outside the system. It's fueled by some painful admissions, a staggering settlement, and bizarrely, gratitude for being blacklisted in the first place.
Welcome to Starscope Report.
Join us as we uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and those viral influencer scandals.
From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we really do dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
And today, that's what we're digging into, the very complicated, very controversial return of James Franco.
We've gone through all the sources, the legal documents, the interviews, and we're trying to figure out two things, really.
First, what did this whole hiatus really cost him in measurable terms? And second, how does he plan to build a viable career when, all the old doors are slammed shut?
Okay, so let's start with the hard, cold numbers. The big flashing headline here is really about the price tag of his past.
Right.
How $2.2 million basically cemented his exile from A-list Hollywood.
And we should remind everyone, his career just took a total nosedive around 2018.
A complete nosedive. He became one of the most visible faces, really, of the hashtag #MeToo movement at the time.
And this wasn't just about, public opinion. This was tied directly to a lawsuit.
A lawsuit over alleged misconduct with women from his acting class, Studio 4, which is now, well, it's defunct.
The core of that lawsuit was claims of sexual exploitation.
Yeah, specifically two plaintiffs, Sarah Tither Kaplan and Tony Gall. They alleged that Franco used his power as a teacher, as an employer, to, create this environment of harassment and exploitation.
And all of this led to a massive financial reckoning. In 2021, they reached a settlement.
For a very precise amount. $2,235,000.
Oh, wow. It's not just a fine. That's like a Hollywood retirement package for some people.
It's a staggering figure. And what's even more interesting is the carefully worded statement that came with it.
Right, because his legal team continued to deny the specific allegations in the lawsuit.
Exactly. But here's the tightrope walk. While denying the specifics, they had to acknowledge that the plaintiffs have raised important issues.
That balancing act, that's the ultimate Hollywood PR move, isn't it?
It absolutely is. It's a tactical maneuver. You pay the $2 million to make the legal problem disappear, but you deny the allegations so it can't be used as, like, an admission of guilt.
So it's acknowledging a systemic problem, but without taking personal responsibility for the specific harm being claimed.
That's it in a nutshell.
Now, that payment was huge, but it wasn't the only relationship he lost.
Not even close.
Later in this deep dive, we're going to reveal which iconic 20-year friendship Franco himself says is officially over. If you're loving these Hollywood twists, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what's coming next.
So moving on from the money, let's talk about him actually breaking his silence. After 4 years of nothing, what did he finally say?
This brings us to, I think, the most shocking part. The headline here could be, 20 years, gone, James Franco admits the unthinkable, but was it enough?
His first big interview was on Jess Cagle's podcast, late 2021.
And he admitted it right on the air. He said, I did sleep with students, and then followed up with, I shouldn't have been.
He tried to frame it all within, a personal recovery journey. He said he sought treatment for sex addiction after the scandal blew up.
And that framing is so critical to analyze here, right?
It is. Because by calling it a sex addiction, he makes the flaw personal. It becomes about his character, his recovery. It kind of shifts the focus away from the institutional harm he caused as a teacher.
And the critics, especially the accusers, they jumped on that immediately. The reaction was just overwhelmingly negative.
Oh yeah, they called the apology late and insincere.
They fundamentally rejected that whole addiction narrative. They felt like it was a way for him to avoid real accountability for abusing his power.
They called it an illusion of remorse. And this is a key word, gaslighting.
And just to break that down for you listening, gaslighting here refers to that manipulative tactic where you try to make someone else doubt their own reality.
Right. By focusing so much on the sex being consensual and blaming his addiction, He was sort of shifting the narrative away from that core teacher-student power imbalance.
Which implies that the accuser's focus on abuse of power was maybe misplaced. It's a really subtle form of denial.
And that's the whole conflict. Franco saw accountability as his personal recovery, but the women wanted accountability for the systemic exploitation. Two totally different things.
And during this same period, he confirmed the end of his most famous professional relationship.
The 20-year friendship with Seth Rogen. Gone. And it was final. The iconic comedy duo, I mean, these guys were the heart of the Apatow universe. Pineapple Express, The Interview.
All of it. Officially no more.
Rogen had already said he had no plans to work with Franco again, but then Franco himself confirmed that the personal relationship is over.
And that's not just an emotional loss. That is professional exile.
Totally.
Losing Rogen means losing your access to the biggest comedy pipeline in Hollywood. Franco even said he spoke out because he didn't want Rogen or his brother Dave to have to answer for me anymore.
So the professional damage just cemented the personal break. And that loss, I would argue, is way more impactful to his career than any studio blacklisting.
Okay, so let's pivot to his actual comeback strategy, because the James Franco we knew, he's gone.
The new headline is something like, "That's it, it's over. Franco declares independence from Hollywood."
In a recent interview with Variety, he finally addressed being, cast out.
And his take on it now is surprisingly pragmatic. He literally said, "It is what it is. I've honestly moved past it. It was dealt with, and I got to change. So that's it. It's over."
Okay, but this is where the story takes a really strange turn.
Yeah, this is the part I can't quite get my head around.
He said he was grateful, actually grateful for the entire ordeal.
Grateful for being blacklisted.
Yeah.
He claimed it was what I needed to just stop going the way I was going. He framed it as a forced intervention that stopped his workaholism.
And that apparently led to some real changes. The sources say he radically changed his whole way of life.
He stepped away from the studio system, he's focusing on his family, and he even went back to academia, but this time to study directing, not to teach those high-profile acting classes.
So he basically turned a professional execution into this painful, but for him, necessary life lesson.
Right. He's making a comeback, but as he says, just not in Hollywood. He's moving at his own pace. And he confirmed he is booked and busy.
And that schedule shows you the new reality of his career. It's a huge shift to low-budget, indie, and international films.
Nothing studio-affiliated.
We're seeing Hey Joe, which just premiered at the Rome Film Festival. That's his first time on a festival circuit since 2019.
And that's a huge signal, right? He's prioritizing international markets where maybe this controversy doesn't have as much weight.
Then there's Alina of Cuba, where he plays Fidel Castro, of all people. That's shot and waiting for release.
Plus The Razor's Edge, an action thriller with Tommy Lee Jones, and The Policeman, a serial killer movie. These are all roles that let him work constantly without any studio gatekeepers.
It really sounds like the professional exile just permanently changed his path. He's not the Hollywood leading man anymore.
No, he's the indie journeyman, making movies far away from the system. The blacklisting stuck, but he found these other smaller doors to walk through.
And in his version of the story, he saved his personal life in the process.
So what does this all mean for, the whole idea of celebrity redemption?
Well, it means we're watching someone try to write his own redemption story, completely outside the industry that kicked him out.
He paid the money, he made the admissions, he changed his life, and now he's claiming he's fulfilled working in, relative obscurity.
Which leaves us with this, final big question for you to think about.
Can a public figure truly move on just by changing their priorities and working outside the system?
Or will the history, the settlement, the accuser's claims, will that always overshadow the new work, no matter how many indie movies he shoots overseas?
It's a question that really challenges the whole concept of accountability in this digital age.
You've been listening to Starscope Report, where we uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture.
Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.